becoming like a character, what are the little mannerisms you can do to make yourself more that person? Like when you're just standing there but you still got to stay in character?
Sometimes you can pick an animal that is like your character. So Steph might talk to you. Shailene was a chicken. But you don't know that, and that's the whole point. Yeah. But her character flutters. So she's always got that flutter inside of her. So you don't necessarily have to do anything because it's all coming out anyway.
Train the fights like that, curve and then punch you.
Well, we don't actually hit each other. I mean, yeah.
Choreography came in for half a day, they worked through the fight, and then they spent half a day, the next day kind of worked, moving it around the space, going faster and faster and faster, until they get it up to around 60%, and then that's it. And then we just make sure we rehearse it before, and I watch it really carefully. And make sure they don't hit anything.
Pick that dance camp.
No, I'm there quite. So yeah, it's very much like a dance. It's worked out exactly the same way as a dance. So, and then you put it in your body just like a dance. It's body stuff.
And just selling it, knowing where all your naps are, like which is the whoever is making the sound for the hit is called a nap. So I do most of but sometimes it's the person who's throwing the punch that does the nap. They might do a thing like that or whatever.
Yeah, so kind of also with the staging. So when you're going through the writing process, would you be already thinking about ideas of design and staging and how you were going to multi-role, or is that something that you came to later?
Well, Rob and I have 3 plays together, and I've learned a lot. He's superb, as you know, a superb comic writer, and he's drawn to that. He's also incredibly clever, absolutely engaging where young people's heads and hearts are. Working together for 12 months, we talked enormously closely, working workshops with kids all over central Queensland. I mean, we talked to police and guidance officers and teachers there.
Yeah, but do you have design in mind when you write
Actually, we want to talk about the way that all fits because as we're talking, we just riff on things and say, what do you say with this and what do we do that? You just see things in the workshop that give you ideas. So it comes out of kids' offerings, really.
I always have an idea of what the stage looks like, kind of theatre in mind, but it doesn't necessarily bear any resemblance to what happens. And as far as juggling 5 actors doing 47 roles, that kind of happens organically. I originally kind of have to map it, but eventually it just sort of happens organically and you get really good at it, which is why I originally cast this for 4 and we had 5. So I'm not actually very good at it.
Because you discovered it would be weird if one of the love interests played
it was also that. And Mrs. T.
Was anything added on or improvised from the original script, or was it played word for word?
I don't know anymore.
Little bits added on.
Yeah, but more like on the ends of scenes, like when we're going out, just to carry a scene off while the other one comes on. But most, like we go, there's not a lot of room for improvisation.
Except when you forget your lines.
Except when you just don't.
Which happens.
Rob uses,
to old guys like
in the creative development process, Rob uses a lot of input from actors. So I was involved in 2 rounds of where he'd bring in work that he'd done, or he was like, okay, you're on a rock with your maybe boyfriend, go. And that's where the impro plays into the process, as you come up with stuff. And even, early days when we had a script, we'd muck around with it then, but once it was like start of rehearsals.
Yeah, did improvising then.
Yeah, it was locked in.
It's interesting though, when they do 2 runs of shows, the second tour, after a long distance between them, we got back together and I was thrilled and stunned to see what these guys had added in, not just a few words in there, but in beautifully nuanced connection, which actually comes out of the trust they build between them. The chemistry between actors is what is the juice, the gold you hope for, and when you see it, as these guys provide it's magic. And then you basically, it just keeps happening and being refined, really, because for them, as I feel it, they keep giving more to each other. that's what actors do. The more they give, the more things start to really solidify into what we've got tonight.
And you want to try and sound like it's improvised.
Try and listen really hard. Yes.
I'm just interested how it was received. Obviously, this was written for Central Queensland, but it's their story. Yeah, how did they respond to this? And was there a real connection with it? And how is there any difference with the way it's being performed now and being received in the city?
It's certainly received differently. Different bits. There are some kind of almost mining community in-jokes that in a Central Queensland audience bring the house down, and in Brisbane. Should cut that probably. But then that happens always with audiences, So I mean, when you have these guys did the show out at Cleveland the other day, and about 150 of the audience were over 60, and the other 150 were under 17. And there was no one in between. And so it was funny, once something's working here, something's working here in the two age groups. So it's the same kind of thing geographically as well, if that makes any sense. Certainly Central Queensland audiences were really engaged because they were getting to see themselves on stage, and they don't get a chance to do that. I mean, as Australians we don't get to see ourselves enough, let alone regional Queenslanders getting to see your own stories on stage.
And also you got a lot of this from those communities.
Yeah, so there's also people there who would have their 2 cents worth going, that's mine! So, bastard stole my lump! So
that's not
I think the fact of the matter is that Rob and I were absolutely committed to the idea that the brief we had from people to help get it all up and going was that we had to address the issue of the image and death and resilience that young people face with the kind of onslaught, the tsunami of responsibilities and pressures of all kinds. And we had to pack all that into the one character. Jenny had to be the recipient of so much and trying so hard. Our view from the word go was that the play wasn't just about Jenny and McElrath or if any young kid today, 15 or 16, who's trying to juggle so much, it's not an uncommon situation. It's a very busy world of people. So I think it plays. People seem to get it.
Yeah.
But certainly we call it a rom-com with grit, and there was a lot of good rom-com response. I've got a question.
Wait, is there one question?
Yes.
With the showing stories for those regional kids and stuff, is there a reason why, like, if you're looking at regional, there's Indigenous people that have, like, casting-wise, is there a reason why you haven't cast any Indigenous as some of the characters, or is that just an oversight, or?
No, it's fine. I was actually really keen to do that. And it actually it was difficult to get into communities to have those conversations. And because I had trouble having those conversations, I became really tentative about doing it if I wasn't going to do it properly. And then in casting, then we had to say we had civil issues, there was a whole lot of actors, and I was very much the opinion we would cast whoever we found and cast colourblind. And again, these are the kids down this week. But yeah, because I didn't want to do it in the problem. Interestingly, because a lot of Indigenous communities are actually really marginalised by the whole experience. So the communities sort of in town feel marginalised, and the communities outside of town are triply marginalised.
I was just interested in the process of collaboration between two writers. How you came together you wrote this? Is that right? Is that how I understand?
On the front cover it says
and how that unfolds together, and the creative and the workshops, how they look like. You go out to Central Queensland, here's a room, here's the locals, what unfolds?
Well, every place is a little bit different, but by and large, we throw bones at them and let them gnaw away. It's like you said, an idea, what happens if this dude from outside, from a sophisticated world comes into yours? What happens? And it's something they're improvising, and they know that. because it's happened all the time, so they give back their perceptions of that issue. And because we're working with the idea of a stranger in a strange land as a theme, and how that disrupts the situation, quite dramatic ploy, we're watching that and picking up words and actions, and their ideas come through freely, actually.
I really like working with Howard because I'm an end gamer and I'm rushing to trying to finish the scene and play it. Right, this is great, bang, let's go. And Howard is very deliberate and thinks long and very hard about things. So it's actually a really good combination in that respect. I tend to probably be doing more of the kind of structural writing and thinking, about how the play is going to work. Well, Howard's already starting to direct it while we're devising it.
And really, I just live and breathe the characters. That's where I'm in the characters, because directorially, you've always, you've heard, it's marvellous actors. They bring it alive, of course. But when you're thinking about these people, they're real. Every one of these we met, they're really people, and that's where we collaborate. On 3 plays, we've done the same process, and each time it's been richly fed from the kids' own lives.
And finally, you can also approach the workshops in a writerly way, so they actually have to have a kind of a structure as well, so that fills in the narrative.
Well, thanks